welcome to Winetimes today again. I welcome RonranO'Gara here to Winetimes for a review on wine and talk about rugby generally. Ronan, how are you doing?
Good, Gary. Good,
Ronan,
thanks.
we're reviewing wines today, and of course that's the theme of the Winetimes and all that. What are your earliest memories of wine in your own, the O'Gara household, growing up with mum and dad, and Sunday lunches or birthdays?
Yeah, it's been a big part in our house.
Yeah, okay.
I have memories from a very young age. I think both my parents like it a lot. I think my father obviously would be red and white.
Yeah.
Likes both of them, and obviously I think he's quite into the wine.
Yeah.
And especially what he has with his food.
Yeah. So with food invariably are your memories? Wine with food?
Yeah, with dinner. I think they'd probably share a bottle of wine most evenings.
Yeah.
But I suppose that, that's, you know, going back for 10-15 years when I was living at home, and I think it was always it was enjoyable because it was the hub of the dinner, and we'd sit around the table, and you know what I mean, kind of mum and dad would have the bottle of wine, and I think as a young fella you're dying to get away from the table, but as you got more older you kind of got more chilled out and relaxed, and it was very sociable. But I think my mum was a big fan of Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, she's a white wine fan.
Yeah, and that's, she's fond of it, alright. But I know, enjoys it, and I think it was there growing up. I suppose we're middle class background, so well reared, and I think wine was a big part, definitely. Yeah,
and a kind of responsible attitude to it was
always. Completely. I think I think if it was a glass or two glasses a day, I think there was times, alright. I think they liked it, but I think maybe 3 or 4 bottles a week kind of was the attitude.
And of course your mum and dad spent some time in the States as well in your formative years, so they would have been exposed to the culture over there of having wine with your
it was all
in the 70s.
Absolutely, the late 70s. So I think as I said, as far as back as I can remember, wine was always a big part of dinner time in our house, and it wasn't just Sunday lunch. It was I suppose an awful lot, I think maybe was in the summer months it was very popular.
Yeah, of course,
maybe with white wine. Probably my dad would always be fond of a bottle of red as well.
On a nice sunny barbecue day or whatever. Of course, us mere mortals, who aren't kind of playing rugby and leading a professional sports career, can indulge ourselves with wine on a daily basis as we wish as we go along. Obviously, with a professional sportsman, you have to watch alcohol, you have to watch your diet, etc. How does the rugby community perceive wine generally? Do they find it something that you can have as a treat sometime with food?
Us players as professionals?
As professionals?
I would think the majority, and it's very, very rare. I think with the standards being raised every year and the levels of professionalism, alcohol plays little or no part in any of our lives. Don't get me wrong, there are a few blowouts once or twice a year, but everything will be consumed from every type of alcohol.
Not necessarily just wine.
Absolutely, so it's a mixture of everything, But I think, from my point of view, a glass or two of wine with a meal is very enjoyable, but having a young family, those times sort of are ahead of me, I hope.
Far between.
Because when they're toddlers, it's difficult. Dinner time isn't really enjoyable. It's a case of getting the food done and moving on to the next job. But I think wine is hugely popular, and I think it's an area that hopefully there'll be far more enjoyable evenings ahead. And I think with as I said, with your foot to the pedal and everything being so competitive, it's hard to kind of kick back and relax, because I think that's what the whole thing about having a bottle of wine is, you know.
And of course, invariably the rugby world and the wine world are inextricably kind of strung together, insofar as a lot of these wine producing countries are also some of the top competing countries. Argentina, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand are all I think massive wine producing countries. Did you experience that part of the country when you have been there? And
it's probably, in terms of our culture here, as teenagers or in your 20s or early 30s, it's, I suppose the emphasis put on wine is maybe we're getting the wrong information out, because if you look at French rugby players, I believe, from talking to a few of them, that wine plays, a daily role in their life.
At lunchtime,
their lifestyle has
dinner,
little effect on their performance, obviously, because that's just the way they've been brought up.
It's the culture.
Yeah, absolutely, and your body becomes accustomed to it, because I think research has proven that a glass or two of wine can be beneficial to you.
Yeah.
But you have to get the balance right. But in France and places, you look at it, after every time we play them in club games or internationals, they'd all be drinking wine.
Drinking wine afterwards,
yeah. And it's just seen as maybe having a coffee.
Yeah. Is it a bit cruel sometimes when you're on tour and you're on this abstention from alcohol and the things that you might end up in a winery kind of the wild zone sometimes?
Yeah,
so
well,
has that happened over the years?
It has, and the great thing about that is that because you're probably travelling with a squad of 30.
Yeah.
So there's 22 fellas that need to watch themselves, but yet the 8 make up for everyone else, and that's always been an issue. And I think that's what makes touring so special.
The group. And
you do get some unbelievable places because international teams are so well catered for that. When we go to South Africa with the Lions, or you went to Australia with the World Cup in 2003, and then there was another one in 2007, and New Zealand is coming up in that regard as well. I suppose South Africa and Australia would be. It seems that they're very, very plush setups in the wineries, and there's a huge wealth involved. Yeah, and
massive. What they have, I suppose, a combination is that sunshine that gives the power to the grapes.
Yeah, that's what they have. Absolutely. But it's a great day out. Typical paddies, we'd all go there and buy the 2 bottles, whether they were.
And would they make it home?
Couldn't taste. Oh yeah, they would. They would. Yeah, I think. A few years back, I can remember the pink or the rosé champagne was a huge hit because people probably thought it wasn't in Ireland.
It was a bit exclusive.
Absolutely. So it's it is always it's a great day out, because Wednesdays usually on your training week would be the day off.
So there'd be social committee, find out a bit of local culture.
Exactly,
and this
golf,
sort of thing.
Some fellas might go fishing, so a trip to a winery, and
so you're given options really.
Absolutely,
on those days,
and the winery trip is always very popular because it's as I said, probably it's popular with the management, probably popular with the senior players, because I think it's something you get an appreciation for as time goes by.
Of course, we mentioned those countries, the new world countries as we call them in the wine industry, the South Africas, the Australias, Argentina, and of course New Zealand. Between them make up the bulk of the wine sold now in Ireland. They're making up the bulk of the percentage sold. But particularly one country has come to light in the last couple of years on Irish shelves, and that's New Zealand. And of course, from a rugby point of view, all roads are leading to New Zealand in the next couple of months as well.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on that coming up?
I have mixed thoughts. I've been to New Zealand a lot, and it's been their winter, and it's the toughest place to go, and we've left a few victories behind us there with Ireland. But it's the greatest test, I think, both physically and mentally, and it's interesting this time because it's in September, October, and we'll never be down there before, and the weather shouldn't be as harsh. Excuse me. At that time, because we've been there before in June, and
torrential.
Oh yeah, it was windy, and it would test you, as a person and as a rugby player, because I think in 2005 with the Lions we roomed on our own.
Yeah.
And socially it wasn't great. You're going back to your room at 6 o'clock for 6 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
People think these things are dream tours, but the questions, because your mood is dependent a lot about results. Yeah. And if results don't go well, it's a tough place to be. But I think there's huge optimism at the minute in Irish rugby. There's massive support. I think there's a lot of competition for places, obviously, and I think you need that, because if you only have a good 22, I don't think you've any chance. It's going to be the important numbers, 26 to 30 are just as good as numbers 7 to 10,
to perform.
Absolutely, because if you have competitive training environment, it'll lead to competitive games, but I think sometimes that's neglected, and you've got to make sure that fellas are pushing each other, because if your level of competition and training is good, that will just transfer easily onto the pitch for game time.
Some people think getting to a semi-final would be a feat in itself. What do you think if Ireland got that far?
I think so, Gary, yeah. Well, of course you can, but that's we talked about it 4 years ago about winning, and it was a disaster. So let's learn from that mistake. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's build in small bridges, I think, here, and put in the building blocks and get there. It's a cliche, but it's how sport is. If you don't get momentum in this competition, it's very hard to make it up. If you have a good start, everything is possible. Yeah. If you don't, and then in this country, the media can easily get on your back very quickly. The public will be fickle, so I think if we can win our first 2 games, and then all roads lead to Australia game, it's everything is possible, as I said. But if you were to offer a semi-final now, and I'm not saying you'd happy to be beaten in a semi-final, but then it's a one-off game, and
anything could happen.
Absolutely, and that's a massive carrot.
Yeah, of course. After the World Cup finishes, it'll be late October. You'll come back and go to Leinster, go to Munster, etc. What are you looking forward to next year? What is going to happen for Munster?
To be honest, Gary, I'm switched into Irish mode now.
That's it.
That's it.
Till October.
Yeah.
It's
like
this project is over. Yeah.
Absolutely, it feels. It's going to be honest quickly, and you just got to focus on that. And then with sport, the great thing is that you get a few days to reassess, and you can do that in that space. But like, I don't have any goals for Munster for this season because there's such a big event ahead of me that I need to give my prime focus to. Exactly.
Ronan, you're aware of Winetimes, the website, and we have the logo behind you here. You've got a chance to kind of look through it and stuff. What do you think of the whole kind of feel to it, the kind of next generation wine website is what we're trying to achieve? What's your thoughts on Winetimes?
I think the thing that impressed me most or struck me straight away is obviously everything is on video basis. Yeah. And that's something that I think when people can see that, it associates. If you look at a website, you read it. Yeah. When you hear someone talking to you or delivering a message to you, I think it stays with you. Yeah. And that's the big thing, and it's impressive that, obviously it's about Winetimes, but like there's hugely diverting interests on it as well, in terms of like some people might be into it for food and
food matching
recipes,
that are available, education.
So that's crucial, I think. But I think the message delivered is so much more powerful when you actually see someone that you enjoy listening to or like to.
So happy with Toman being on the list, on the Winetimes list?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a small thing, obviously, but as I said, I don't have too much knowledge of the wine. I'm trying to broaden my horizons on it and speak to people who know it, and it's an interesting topic.
I have it. Okay. So listen, Ronan, thanks very much.
Cheers, Gary.
Again from Winetimes.
Come on.
And thanks for coming in. Thank you.